Welcome back to another episode of the Josh Hall Podcast, and today I have a special guest. I have my good friend Julia Glenn on the show today.
Hello, happy to be here.
An honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
So why did you want to come on this podcast?
Well, okay. So
I'm just gonna put you on the spot right from the very start.
Okay, well, you and I have conversations about so many different
That's
things.
true.
So I feel like it would be very easy to fill a podcast with just interesting conversation. Usually it's me walking up to you and being like, guess what I learned or I heard about? And then you for the next 20 to 30 minutes just laughing at my random theory or new bouts of knowledge.
Usually at church right now.
Yeah.
So Julia and I go to the same church. We've been friends for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I was at church a couple weeks ago and Julia was like, you have to have me on. And I was like, I know. And then I was like, you know what? Like, let's just do it. Let's have her on. So yeah. So let's see. I always talk to my guests about how I know them.
Okay.
So when did we meet? Because I actually don't remember.
Officially, we met at the concert that you did with BJ Ugrass in the gazebo between my sophomore and junior year. You had just finished a summer where you were like basically working on campus with Dr. Pettit and everyone.
Yes.
And you had traveled a little bit and then you wrapped it up with a concert at the gazebo. And I think Grace Aaron had actually asked me to come to like hear you guys play or something, because I had sent in a video to Dr. Pettit, well, to Grace and Carson and Dr. Pettit.
That's right. I
Basically
totally
an
forgot.
audition video.
No,
almost.
okay.
Did you know I didn't know that was an audition video?
No.
I did not know. So, funny enough, Grace hit me up and was like, randomly out of the blue, she texted me and said, hey, can you just send me a video of you singing real quick?
That's a very Grace thing to do.
Yeah. I wish I remember exactly how that text thread went, but I definitely don't think that I actually knew that it was directly for that. And then she kind of filled in and was like, yeah, so I'm not going to be on the team anymore and they're looking for people. So your name was brought up because I had sung like just randomly on campus with them a couple of times. And she was like, I told Dr. Pettit about you or whatever. So
okay, I remember now.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the gazebo, but I remember you coming to the one of those rooms in the den.
Yeah.
And we were in the
practice.
It was in like that study room A or whatever it's called. With, like,
it was
all
the first time
windows.
I sang Harlan.
And we were sitting in there in the middle of this like June or like July. I don't even know what it was. And that's right. And they were like, yeah, this new girl's coming to like sing and we're going to see if we think she'll be a good fit. So you sang, Harlan. What's the full title of that song?
Never Leave Harlan Alive.
Never Leave Harlan Alive. What a great movie.
I haven't heard that one in such a long time.
I wish I had a recording of it. We could play it on here.
I know. Yeah, it was funny because I think Carson had sent it to me and said, hey, I think this would fit your voice really well. Could you just learn just a little bit of it? Like, you don't have to know the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Well, me being an overachiever I was like, if they start playing this, I better know every detail of this song. I think I listened to it like over and over and over again every time I drove.
I remember because you knew it super well when we did it.
Yeah.
And we had like just been working on it. I think Carson had picked it for you, but yes. And then didn't you like stay and like have a conversation with Dr. Pettit?
Yeah.
Like that day?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I sang that one song and Carson was like, I'll be right back. And he goes and he comes back in and he's like, Dr. Pettit is on FaceTime. So I hadn't met Dr. Pettit.
Oh, yes, because he wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't there. So I hadn't met him.
I remember that now.
And so I get on this FaceTime call with Dr. Pettit and he's just like, what did he say? Something about how like this is a very serious like group and it actually
This is a
intimidated
really
me a
big
little
deal.
bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it intimidated me a little bit because I was like, yeah, I understand. And he's like, so would you like to be on the team? And I was like, well, yeah, like if you'll have me.
This is a really serious group. Meanwhile, we're just dying that summer. Like we're just, yeah, that was like a wild time. What a great.
I didn't know I
time.
was up for that much consideration because I had sent in that video and then came to the gazebo little concert that you did and then came to that one practice. And so I was like, okay, maybe they've got other people they're trying out. But it was like during that practice, got the FaceTime call.
Well, then you joined like that semester
Mhm.
and then you were traveling with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, that was like fall of 21.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I actually saw a picture on Facebook recently and it was like Danielle, Abby, you, me, and Carson, like that, just like that, those people. I was like, man, like that feels so long ago.
Well, summer of 21. I mean, that's going to be 4 years ago.
That's
right?
crazy.
Yeah. 4 years ago this summer.
Wow. Man, time has been so weird.
I know. It's crazy. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, good time. So then you traveled with us for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I left the same time.
Yeah.
I think we left the team at the same time. And
Yeah.
then went our separate ways. And then all of a sudden we were going to the same church. So
I know.
Julie's one of those people that just shows up in your life randomly. At least for me.
That's probably fair. I feel like everywhere I go, there's like somebody that I knew at some point in my past life.
You just knew a lot of people. That's what it was. Because you
Yeah,
did like
maybe.
theater here. You
Yeah.
did music here.
See,
you
that's
did
like-
marketing.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about my time at Bob Jones is I was involved in so much that were so opposite of one another. Like I would go from like a corporate finance class to like a theater class where we had to wear yoga pants basically because we were doing breathing exercises on yoga mats. Like that is such like a weird like mental transition. I guess you're just using both sides of your brain, but that's also kind of my experience here with being involved in society leadership, being involved in, I was an RA for those same 2 years that
That's
I was
right.
traveling with the team. So I was involved with a lot of things like dorm life and student life and then doing all the business things. And I was vice president of the UBA and then, yeah, I did multiple shows here. So, and then also worked for the Dean of Fine Arts. So got to meet like all that side of campus, which is so different from like the business side.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so I think that definitely did expand just all the people that I got to meet that you probably wouldn't normally run into when you've got like one main focus.
Yeah. What was your, let's talk about this for a minute. What was your, how would you rate your experience here at Bob Jones?
Like what is the scale?
Like, well, okay, I'll give you a scale and then we'll talk about it. But like, let's say 1 was the worst experience of your life and 10 was the best experience of your life.
I'll say 8, but I'm gonna I'll tell you why I rank it so like high, or why I would almost rank it higher was it had so much to do with like how I ended up at Bob Jones and just how the Lord kind of led my life at that time in high school when I was considering colleges, because I thought theater was what I wanted to do with my life. That ended up being my minor and not what I was like doing full time. I was accepted to a college in New York City. Like I was like, that was what I wanted to do. And I remember when I was like in high school, me being the very organized person I was, made a pro cons list for like each of the colleges, and also made a like Excel spreadsheet of like, what are the benefits of each of these things and what do I need? And, you know, financial things, all the things you're thinking about when you're thinking about college.
Yep.
And I knew that I was like, okay, I know I want to like work when I'm on campus, and I know that I want theater to be a part of my life, but I also know I want to focus. At that point, I knew that business was the route that I was going to go down. And so I needed something that had all of that. And I went and talked and toured multiple schools. And after talking to just a ton of counselors at
The bell's still ringing here.
a ton of counselors at multiple different schools. Finally, I was just praying, and I ended up coming to a show, actually a performance here on campus. And one of my just life mentors, her name is Markel. She was like, if you come here, she's like, would you happen to be looking for a job? And it was just like one of those God moments where I was like, Lord kind of closed every other door for me. Not in like a bad way, but he definitely opened a lot of doors here that made it very, just made me very aware that this is where I was supposed to be. And I remember 2 weeks after being on campus, when most of the time students are probably like missing home and missing everything. Like I was here on campus and I was like, I know that this is exactly where I need to be. I know this is exactly where God wants me. I loved it. The Lord continued to open doors my entire time that I was here. And just the way he allowed me to network, to meet the people that got me involved in all the things that I was involved in and that I wanted to be involved in. And I think I just had like the best experience here. And I also think that the 4 years that I was here was like, in my opinion, kind of prime time to be here. You know, I got those 4 years with Dr. Pettit and built like a great relationship with him. And also with Dr. Lawson, who was Dean of the Fine Arts program here at that time. I just think like it was really a highlight for me. And the Lord also, when I was leaving, I was like, man, how am I ever going to want to leave here? And I feel like the Lord was really good about closing those doors too, and being like, no, there's more out there, and there's the next step and the next place that the Lord was kind of leading me in afterwards. But definitely for my time here, I think I was here exactly when I needed to be here, and I had the best time being here.
So what did you do right after? So I want to ask you that because, you know, a lot of us are finishing school and then moving on to the next thing, and that's a hard thing to do, especially if you've been somewhere for a long time. You know, the world is big and scary. There's a lot of options, but there's also like no options. It's like this. It's like both at the same time. So like, how do you know like what to do? How did you figure out what to do? Like, what's been your path after school? Yeah,
I will say, truly. Well, for one thing, I had a little bit of help, and I'll talk about that in a second. But truly, I would say that as like my second semester, senior year, I definitely prayed a whole lot. It was very much like up to the Lord's will and the Lord's guidance. I was very much like, I don't know what job I'm going to have. I know that I would love for it to be in a marketing department. Marketing was my concentration. I knew I wanted to do business. I actually did have an internship, because in the business program here, you have to have an internship for one of your years while you're in college. And I actually had it my junior year. And then each semester I'd be like, okay, this is the end. And then they'd be like, can you just stay? And so I ended up doing that for about a year and a half. Made great connections there. Wonderful people.
And that was at
Find Great People,
yes.
The recruiting company. Yeah.
Okay.
And just, it was a great experience there. And so anyway, so I knew I wanted to do something in marketing and business, and the little bit of help that I had actually was, my mom actually works in business. So I had a little bit of networking through her, which was really nice. But truly, I prayed, and one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given about your prayer life when you're making decisions like that was actually from Dr. Lawson. When I was trying to figure out where to go to college, and I think I mentioned something about, I'm just waiting for the Lord to open the right doors. And he was like, you know, sometimes, you know, we continue to ask the Lord, like, hey, can you open this? Like, can you open this door? Can you open this door? Or like, just show me where I'm supposed to go. And he's like, really, you just want to ask the Lord to close the wrong doors and make it so evident to you, where he's leading you. And so I remember that I started changing the way that I prayed. To be like, please close the wrong doors and just make this really evident. And that's how I ended up at school here. And so I started praying a very similar prayer afterwards, because I didn't know if like, maybe I should ask Find Great People, like, hey, could I continue on here afterwards? Or if there was somewhere else for me to be. And so I prayed about it a lot and talked to my mom about it a lot. And I ended up, it's funny how the Lord works. It's like always last minute, like close to the edge, when you're just like, when you're just like so worried about it, and then he comes through. Like, that's even like how I ended up at Find Great People. I was like, man, I have nowhere to get an internship with, Lord. Like, what do I do? And then like the next day during class, I had a friend text me and say, hey, are you by any chance looking for an internship? And like that, and then ended up there for like a year and a half and had amazing work experience that actually led into what I'm doing now, because I'm doing very similar things and just being in that work environment. I work completely remote, so I work from home. And I always thought that I wanted to be in an office space. And so I Find Great People, you know, I had my time there doing the office space thing. And I was like, you know what, the remote life sounds pretty good.
Where do you work now?
So I work for a company called eSkills.
Okay.
And they basically are a wingman basically between companies who sell LMS platforms and their customers.
Okay.
And an LMS, like a learning management platform, think of
Like
kind of like
Canvas?
Canvas. Yeah. That has like course management and stuff. So we do a lot with we have a lot of government clients. So all of their content for the learning things that they have to go through and renew each year, we create content for them. But we have like 10 different service offerings, like 5 different products, and we're growing. Like we continue to build out products for multiple partners that we have. And so basically we are the go-between. So when somebody needs their LMS implemented, like we do that. When somebody wants to know how they can get like the best use out of their LMS, we do that. When somebody wants it designed to look the way they want, we do that. When somebody needs content in their LMS, we do that. Like we do so many things. So it's really interesting, like how you have to market with that kind of go-between, but also when you have so many different products, like how do you explain to people like who you are, what you do, what you offer?
Because you're doing the marketing. I assume you're not doing like the technical. Like
yeah. We have people who do all of the technical work for all. But
you're like, so what does a day look like for you?
So, so basically, it looks like I'll take you through today. I woke up. I started working on social media content. So my title technically is social media and content creation.
Okay.
But when I came, there was me and one other person in marketing. We've now grown to like a team of 5.
Okay.
And so we're kind of all hands on in like all of the different things that we do. And so I got on a phone call right after. So I did a little bit of content creation for what we're going to be posting later this week. I got on a phone call with our marketing team where we just basically talked about, here's what went well last week. Here are some of the snags we ran through. Here's what I'm going to be working on this week. If we need to ask anybody for deliverables for anything else. So we had that conversation, got off. I manage a content library there, which is basically all of the like different Word documents or PowerPoint presentations or anything that somebody has that they could possibly use to send to a customer or send to somebody within the company. I manage it in a large library. So I had people send me a few things that needed to go into it, or I had some things that need to be updated. We recently did a full rebranding of our company. So as a marketing team, like that's a huge undertaking to take on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We rebranded everything from what our colors were to the messaging for each of our products and services. And so right now we're having to take every PowerPoint, every Word document, every one pager, everything that we have and rebrand it to look and sound like us now. So right now we're in a major undertaking of people are just sending me like all of these different things that I then have to go through and rewrite, or we have a go-to-market manager who does a lot of that as well, but it's like editing that and then how do we make it look like us and sound like us and then get that back to them and put that in this library. So
interesting.
That was a lot of my afternoon because we still have so much to do. I think the rebranding launched in October, so it's only been a few months that we've had all of that. So all of our things have to be
a lot of work. You talked a minute ago about working in the office for finding great people, and then now you work at home. Mm-hmm. So like, I've heard a lot of people talking about that, like the differences and like what people prefer. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. What are the pros and cons?
It definitely isn't for everybody.
Like working from home?
Yeah, working from home.
Yeah.
You really have to be very detail oriented and you have to be good at time management and self-management, because it's so easy when you're at home to be like, oh, if I can just get the dishes done, or, oh, let me just do this load of laundry, or, oh, let me just go cook this meal real quick. And you don't realize how much time kind of just escapes you so quickly. And so I know people who have tried working remotely and they're like, I can't do it. Like I can't do it without having people around that I can have conversations with or run something by. Or they're like, I kind of need like that management, or I feel like I'm locked in a jail cell all day because you're not moving. And so it definitely isn't for everybody. I prefer it just because I don't like the term micromanage, like you're not being micromanaged, because I definitely wasn't at Find Great People, and it's not like that's in everybody's experience everywhere. But for me, it's nice because I can take the time that I have in between those meetings and really focus. Like when I was at Find Great People, you'd have people walk by your desk and then you start up a conversation and then you like, like you're like, all of a sudden your mind's not like focused on the task, and I'd get to the end of the day and be like, okay, what did I really get accomplished here? And so this, I can be like, okay, bye, and like the camera, like, you know, it hangs up, like your meeting hangs up, and then it's not like it's not like you're standing up from a meeting table and then talking on the way out and you get involved in like a conversation. Right. Like for me, it actually helps me focus more, that I'm able to like prioritize things.
How many hours do you put in a week?
Over 40.
Okay. And like, I don't know if you want to talk about this on here, but like, do you think that like your job requires 40 hours a week plus to do?
I mean, I definitely think that, it's basically any job that you work in an office. Like, yeah, I would say it takes 40 hours to do. Yeah.
Because I don't know. The reason I brought it up is because like, I've heard people talking about how a lot of office jobs, you know, they have to be there from 8 to 5, but they're like, I could do this work in like 20 hours or less. Oh yeah. And so people feel like they waste a lot of time.
I would say with remote work, you're still able to do that. It's funny. My mom and I actually talk about this a lot because, the amount of people who will just schedule meetings to just talk about things, but then the actual time, like, are they actually getting done outside of, because you don't have somebody to manage you and make sure you're like working on something. So for me, I actually think that you probably could get a whole lot more done in 20 hours, but what happens is there's always something else to do. So you do all of that in the 20 hours that you're not in like these meetings and stuff, or at least this is how it works for me. Like, I have all my hours blocked off. Like, this is what I'm going to do in each of these like timestamps. That's just, I have to have everything scheduled. That's just how I am. And I do all that in 20 hours. And maybe the thing that would have taken me 20 hours next week, I can now, the next 20 hours, so I can work on that this week. Okay. Yeah.
So you're just being more productive.
Yeah.
In the end.
For me, I am. But for some people, they aren't. For some people, they get really distracted. And I understand, like, it's easy to go scroll on social media. You don't have somebody who's walking by your desk being like, hey, what you doing? You know, like, so it has a lot to do with the person.
Do you have like a specific space that's like, this is my workspace?
Oh, yeah, I definitely do.
Okay.
I am so I'll take you kind of through my day. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. and I go to the gym, and usually I'm back by like 6:45, 7ish. Make coffee and breakfast, do my devotionals, sort of plan out like what's going to happen for the day, and then start work at 8 a.m. Actually, our company allows people, because we have people all over the world and in different time zones. Like, some people work 9 to 6, some people work 8 to 5. I personally work 8 to 5. So for me to be like the most productive, I have to get up. I have to be dressed. Like, I have to like take a shower. In your pajamas. Yeah. I think that's kind of, for me, that's almost like a telltale sign sometimes with people. Not that they can't do that, but a lot of the people are just like rolling out of bed in their pajamas, like coming in. Like, for me, I just couldn't be productive like that. So I have my desk in a different room than my bedroom. I usually don't work in my bedroom because I don't want to be tempted to, like, I don't know, in your bedroom, you like, you just read, watch a movie, relax. Yeah, it's where you relax. And so for me, it's not as productive. So I have a standing desk with a walking pad. So I'm like, I like basically walk all day while I work, which actually was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, I was just like, oh, let me just get in some more steps, but it's actually really hard to like think and walk that way. So so I try to get in, because it's hard. Like, when you're working remote, like, it's hard to get a lot of movement in.
Do you actually walk the whole day, or do you like?
I don't walk during meetings.
Okay.
Because I feel like you look weird, like going back and forth. There are people at my work who do, though. Like, they're on there, and you can tell they're on their walking pad.
So do you ever sit down to work?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is. I don't even know if I could do that.
Yeah. My desk stays standing. I actually don't even have a chair at my desk.
Well, because, like, okay, so I teach on the days I teach for 3 hours separated, but like, I get tired. Like, I need to go sit down after a while.
Yeah.
So
no, it just, that's the thing about, like, that's how cool our bodies are. Like, it's like, after you do it for a while, like, your body becomes stronger and gets used to standing.
You can get stronger, Josh.
Yeah.
Do you, like, I know you're interested in, like, nutrition. So, like, do you have a very strict diet, like, that you keep, or like with all, like throughout your day? So we're talking about your day.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
How does food factor in for you?
So I'm a big meal prepper.
Okay.
Or at least try to be as much as I can. Sometimes it's hard on the weekends, but and also my schedule is weird. Like I travel a lot, so it's weird trying to like figure that out. But I don't eat out like at all. Like if I'm here in
Same.
the town, like I cook all the time. I love to cook. And yeah, I eat a ton of meat and a lot of whole foods. Like I will rarely have something that's like I don't have boxed mac and cheese. And it's easier living now that I'm living like on my own, where I'm like buying my own groceries. It's easier for me because I'm like, okay, I plan out what I'm eating that week. I go to the grocery store, make sure I have the ingredients for just that, and then make sure I'm buying like good healthy ingredients. So I actually like the Greenville's Farmers Market's like right behind my house, which is the biggest blessing ever. So I know I'm getting like good whole foods that are organically grown. But I'm really picky about what's in my food. Like it's a nightmare to go grocery shopping with me because I read the ingredient label of everything that I buy. So I eat a ton of fruit, a ton of vegetables. Like my breakfast is always, I eat the same thing for breakfast every single day. Like I eat 3 eggs with cottage cheese in it. It's actually
3 eggs with cottage cheese.
Yeah.
How do you make, like, what do you
you scramble them? You just scramble them up and throw them in a pan. They're done in like 5 minutes. It is so good.
Hold on. Do you put the cottage cheese in the pan?
Yeah. You scramble them up with the eggs. Okay, I know it sounds weird, and I thought so at first too, because I was just trying to find a way to get more protein in. Okay, and people were like, you got to eat cottage cheese. I tried eating a spoonful of cottage cheese. Disgusting. Couldn't stand it. I mean, now I'm better at it. But so I was like, I saw a video of somebody who was like, you need to put cottage cheese. Some people make cottage cheese pancakes, and some people put cottage cheese in their eggs, because a lot of people like eggs that have cheese in them. Like it's like kind of like an omelet type of thing.
Okay, that's
so
true.
This is just cottage cheese. So when you bake it up, it's not like as slimy and you don't get the chunks of cottage cheese. It's just like eating scrambled eggs, but you're getting like the extra protein and healthy fats from it.
That is fascinating. I will try that.
Yeah, it's so good.
Because I love eggs, but like I was just talking to Mom on the phone the other day, and I was telling her, I was like, the problem with eggs is like you eat like 3 of them in the morning, and then you're like hungry again in like an hour. Like, so it's not, it's like, it's good, but it's not enough.
Yeah. So you're getting extra protein and extra healthy fats. And then usually I have some sort of fruit with them. But a lot of times I'll eat that, and then I'll have like sourdough toast with avocado. So again, more healthy fats and getting in carbs. And then I have protein coffee every morning.
Protein coffee.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm learning all kinds of things. What's protein coffee?
So, I actually really don't enjoy like protein shakes, like smoothies. It's really hard for me to drink the entire thing. It's never hard for me to finish coffee. So I was trying to find a way to like combine that, because I drink less coffee than I did in college, but definitely consume a lot of coffee. And so basically what I do is I have pour over coffee, make my black coffee. I have a special type of coffee from a special store that I get it in Lynchburg, Virginia. It's my favorite coffee shop ever. I spend extra money for their coffee beans.
Do you want to tell us what it's called?
Yeah, it's called Kinship.
Kinship Coffee in Lynchburg.
In Lynchburg. So if you're ever in Lynchburg, please, like, it's 10 minutes away from Liberty. So if you've got friends in Liberty that you go visit, do yourself a favor.
Next time
and go
I'm
there.
up there, I'll look for Kinship Coffee.
Literally, the best coffee I've ever had. Somehow they are able to make their espresso so smooth every single time. I don't know what they teach their baristas, but I have genuinely considered moving up there and asking them if I could just like learn. Like my dream is to own a coffee shop, and I am seriously going to go to their owners and be like, hey. Is it just
like a local
shop?
Yeah,
it's a local shop, and they're Christian. Like it's half of like their money that they make, they donate to different missionaries and whatnot. Cool. I mean, incredible coffee. And so anyway, so I buy the beans from there, either when I'm visiting or I buy them online as well. And then, so that's my black coffee. And then I just have a protein powder. It's like cinnamon roll flavored, because I really like cinnamon in my coffee. I put some of that in, and then mix that up first with like my coffee creamer, which I use Chobani. And the reason I use Chobani over any other kind is from seed oils. Chobani actually doesn't have like, every other coffee creamer has vegetable oil in it, which is disgusting. So I use Chobani. Sweet cream specifically my favorite. And so you mix that up first, you pour the coffee in, and it literally makes latte style. Like it almost has like that frothiness to it as well. So that's my every morning. I genuinely go to bed looking forward to drinking this coffee the next morning.
Well, I mean, I also look forward to my cup of coffee, but
yeah. So anyway, it's a way to get extra protein in.
So what is the protein powder called? Like, do you remember?
No.
Okay. Because like I'm trying to imagine mixing protein powder with, I just feel like it would be like chunky.
It's just well, you just get one of those blenders, like the handheld blender things. You can buy them at TJ Maxx for like $4.
Interesting.
Yeah. You just blend that with the creamer first and pour the coffee in. Oh my gosh.
It sounds good.
Yeah. So you've got basically it changes the flavor. But
okay. So you said that vegetable oil is disgusting. Why? Because I use it all the time.
Okay, please stop. Please don't. Like, for your own health, please don't. Like, scientifically, it is proven. It is so bad for your body. Like, it's just, I'll send you an article later on it. But if you're going to use any sort of oil, use olive oil, coconut oil, or avocado oil.
Okay.
So, that's all that I have.
Well, because last night I cooked chicken and I put it in the pan and I'm like running low on butter, so I didn't want to use up all my butter. So I was like, I have vegetable oil. So I just cooked it in vegetable oil and put lemon pepper seasoning on it, and it was really good.
Yeah.
So like it tasted good, but
yeah,
should I use something different?
Yes. Literally, just
any of the other three.
Yeah. Seed oils particularly are just really bad for you. Here, let me just search up some reasons why seed oils are bad for you. I'm also going to send you like 15 different podcasts on why they're bad for you.
I have my homework.
I know. But they're high in omega-6 fatty acids. They increase the risk of heart disease. They also have oxidative stress. And basically they just cause heart problems. And just a lot, there's so many different like ways that it affects your body just poorly. Whereas like olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, like you're getting more healthy fats other than like those omega-6 like just fatty acids.
Which of those three is the best? Like the best tasting?
Depends on what you're cooking.
Okay.
So if I'm baking, like if I'm making cookies or something that need oil, which my cookie recipe doesn't need oil, but if I'm baking and need something that has oil in it, then I use coconut oil. I think it tastes the best in baking. If I'm cooking chicken, or like you were talking about that use vegetable oil, or if I'm like a lot of meats and stuff, I'll use olive oil or avocado oil.
I've not heard of avocado. I've heard the other two.
Yeah, I love avocado oil. That's actually the main one that I would say that I use. Yeah. So any of those three, but just any, like if I see like vegetable oil, corn oil, soy oil, any of that in an ingredient list, I immediately put it back. I won't even buy it.
Yeah, well,
the amount of stuff that it's in is crazy. No, it's okay. A lot of people just don't know.
Well, I've heard this and I've chosen to ignore it, but I have heard that is the case. I mean, what do you do at like eating out? I mean, like, I know you said you don't, but like when you do you worry about it, or is that just kind of your cheat a little bit?
I mean, really it is just a cheat. I worry about it because I know. But it's like you can't do anything about it. Like you can't avoid it. It's in so much. Like if you actually start reading the ingredient list on the back of foods and you realize like just how much it's in, like you feel like you can't eat anything. Well,
there's also like there's so many food allergies now that people have. Yeah. People, like being gluten free or being lactose intolerant or whatever.
Yeah, like when I met you.
Yeah, you were, right?
Yeah,
Are you now?
No.
You were.
I was, yeah.
Do you think that is from stuff that's in the food now? Like, do you think that that's what's causing it? Is that our food's different now than it used to be? Because I don't think everybody was this way 100 years ago.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, if you actually see, like, the increase... I saw a study one time, and it had, like, basically these two graphs, and it was, like, as seed oils were more implemented in our food, then the obesity rate actually raised as well in the same, like almost the same increments. And so I think that I just think that so much of what we eat is causing a lot of these problems. And that's not for everyone. Like, I'm not going to say that's universally true. I think for me specifically I specifically blame it on the DC food, because like I never had any problems with like gluten or dairy before I came to college, and then it's like then I was at the dining common, and like all of a sudden I was like, why do I just like feel like so bad? Like I think the reason why I'm most passionate about it is like I love it when my body feels good, and my body just did not feel good all the time. And then when I started like cluing in, specifically like the dairy one, I found out because like ice cream is one of my favorite desserts ever. But all of a sudden, every time I ate it, like I just felt awful. And I was like, this is so weird. Like I did not have this problem before. And so I actually spent a whole lot of time doing a ton of research on like healing my gut afterwards. And just did a lot of work to do that. Actually, fasting actually helped me more than anything when it came to like healing my gut afterwards.
So healing your gut, is that what has made you not gluten-free anymore?
Yeah. I think it was just like the foods and the things that were in the foods in the dining common, and on top of like not having all this knowledge on what's going into our food before, because that's kind of what started me on this journey of being like so interested in all this. But I think it was like a lot of the ingredients and stuff that were in foods.
So, okay. Oh, I have so many questions. If you were to say to somebody, or if somebody was like, I need to heal my gut, like I need to like I think that's my problem. What do you do? Like, what are the steps for that? Like, what did you do?
Yeah. So what I did was I did a 3-day fast.
Whoa.
Yeah. I still fast a lot. I do at least a 24 to 48 every month. And then once a quarter to like half a year, we'll do a 3-day fast. And specifically for the health benefits. So for 24 hours, your gut and gut lining completely resets itself when you fast. So that basically brings you back to square one. And so then once you get to 48 hours, your body basically does like almost an overall body reset, and your brain starts functioning differently. And by the time you get to 72, like almost your whole immune system has been rebooted. Like the benefits and the studies on this is just like out the charts of how beneficial it is just to fast, and how it renews your mind, which actually is so interesting. If you think about how often the Lord like asked the Israelites to fast, or when they did, it was almost a renewal of their bodies and their minds. And I think there was also health benefits to that, but also like it increased like their prayer life, because their brain was almost switched on and activated and renewed, and they were able to have like this total focus on the Lord and just having that be their only concern. And so for me, that's been like really, really helpful. So sorry, I'm kicking the mic here.
It's okay. But
anyway, so I started off with a 72-hour fast, and then I slowly started adding things back into my diet. There's a supplement called L-glutamine that also helps with like gut healing. But then I started eating whole foods and bringing whole foods back into my diet. And basically just had to start reteaching my body how to process those foods, I guess, but doing it little by little and incrementally, if I can speak. But, and then once I had done that, and once I had brought it back into my diet in that way and process it, like my body was able to process it better. Like I stopped having all of the issues that I had.
Well, I've heard that food from other countries, or like when people go over to another country.
Oh yeah.
That like they can eat anything all of a sudden. Like people who can't have bread here in the U.S., they go over to France or whatever, and like they can eat the bread there because it's made differently.
Oh, it's not just that it's made differently. It's illegal to have the stuff that is in our foods are illegal in other countries. Like that is the thing that floors me the most. So take like, I think red dye number 3 was just told that they had to take it out of all foods in the US. But what's interesting is in the 70s, in like the 1970s, they took it out of all makeup products because it was so harmful and cancer causing, but they didn't take it out of our foods. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So yeah, exactly. So it like is insane. If you look at like a box of Cheez-Its, or like just basic things that we have over here, Pop-Tarts, stuff like that.
Fruit Loops. People were talking about Fruit Loops for a while.
Fruit Loops. If you look over there and read the back of the ingredient list, it's like 7-8 items that you can read and understand, like, you know what all of those products are.
In Europe.
In Europe. But if you read the ingredients in ours in the US, you've got like something oxidized, you can't even pronounce half of the things that are in it. And because all that stuff is just not allowed over there. And the amount of people who go over there, and like here, they would have a problem like eating a bowl of pasta or pizza or something, and it just makes you feel so full and you just feel so like gross and icky. Like you go over there, eat all of that and lose like 5 pounds. Whereas here, like, people are so worried about gaining weight and like the obesity problem, but it's because of the type of food, the
Everything
food
that we put
sources.
in.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Well, that's what a lot of Robert Kennedy is doing, right? Like,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
becoming he just got verified as the,
Yeah. He just got
what's it called? He's like
sworn in.
is it the HHS? No.
What
It's,
is it?
I can look it up.
Yeah.
Because I know you're also interested in politics, so.
Yeah.
Segue.
No, I'm so excited about him
Really?
being sworn in, though.
Well, what do you know about him? Let's see. He is now the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. So yeah. HHS.
Yeah.
Do you know much about him?
I don't know a ton about him. I know
I
know that he ran as a Democrat.
Yeah, he's very liberal.
Yeah, but for me, I mean, what he's going to be over is health and stuff. And I mean, even if you just look at the guy, you're like, okay, you know what you're talking about.
Right.
You know, like the last person who was over like the HHS, you looked at him and you were like,
Rachel Levine, transgender guy.
Yeah, and you like look at you're like, I don't know if you know what's best for my health. You know,
Facts.
like so
it was like a joke. It was like
I know.
You?
But at least like a lot of the
horrible.
I know. But a lot of the things that he's promoting and talking about just helping with nutrition is backed by a lot of science, a lot of studies. It's stuff that should have been out of our food a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping Red 40 is going to be next. Technically, we shouldn't have any dye in our food. Like dyes are so bad. Like so cancer causing.
So is that what food coloring is? Like when you get those little pods and you like drip them into like the icing, is that just food dye? Is that what it is?
Yes and no, because you can get those food coloring pods that are like red would be made out of like beet. Like
so it's
beets.
doesn't have the dye in it.
Yeah, so it doesn't have the dye is like it's the chemicals itself.
Okay.
And the chemicals that are making that dye are what's leading to so many like increased risk in cancer. It's leading to tons of ADD, ADHD in kids, hyperactivity.
I've heard that.
Like a ton of stuff.
Okay, well so I'll say something about that. Mm-hmm. So I heard the other day that red velvet cake is chocolate cake just with red dye in it. That's all it is. Very interesting. Didn't know that. But
did you not taste it? Does it taste different to you?
The chocolate cake? I don't know. I just always thought of it as red. Red velvet. I don't know.
What does red taste like?
I don't know. I don't really know what I thought it was, to be honest. Like,
that's so funny.
now that I've thought about it, I'm like, yeah, what flavor did I think that was?
Yeah.
But regardless, I was over at my brother's house the other Sunday night, and I had been listening to some stuff online, reading some stuff about all this dye stuff and how red dye can like, gives kids ADHD. It can like give you like sleeping problems, like it can keep you from sleeping. So I was over there and I had just read about red velvet cake and they had some, and I like made a joke. I was like, this is gonna like keep me up tonight. Well, it did.
Oh.
So I like ate it, and then like I did not sleep. Like that, I remember I was miserable that night, and I was laying there.
You stayed up
and
that
I was
night
like,
being like, "This is the cake."
I was like, "It's the red velvet cake with the red dye." Is that legitimate?
Yeah.
Why does it do that?
Something about the chemicals that are in it. It's interesting because different people respond differently to it. So I think it's interesting that it did actually keep you up, and you're like,
I think that's what it was.
The cake. Like,
because like it wasn't like I was like worried about it. It was just kind of like,
yeah,
I just had the thought and I made the comment and I
which
forgot
really
about it until I was like laying there and I was like, why can't I sleep? And I was like, it was that stupid cake that I ate. I know it was.
Because different people respond differently, and it's different in kids too. Because like some kids can eat birthday cake and be totally fine. Some kids eat birthday cake and bounce off the walls, and a lot of people and a lot of that does have to do with like sugar, and you got a sugar spike and that type of hyperactivity. But my brother actually had an issue with this when he was younger. Like my parents like kept everything that had like, I think red 40 and a blue dye like out of his foods because he had it. I've known kids who literally within like 15 to 20 minutes will be like a totally different person. And it was kind of like that for my brother. Like it was like that, just the hyperactivity level that just raises so quickly. And you're almost like, who is this child? Like, this isn't my like loving, like, brother. Like he's like crazy and he's biting people and he's getting in fights with everybody. And people see that mostly with kids, and then they go to the doctor and diagnose them with ADHD and put them on meds. And
well, okay, so this is always controversial. All this stuff, obviously with Robert Kennedy, he's controversial because of his stances on health. But I wonder if part of the reason it gets so controversial is because of what you said, that everybody responds differently. So like we know that like what's a good example of something that's universal? You know, like when something does the same thing to everyone,
right?
You know,
it's easier to,
it's like, okay, like, that's bad.
Yeah.
But when it's like, well, some people respond to red dye in this bad way, then it's easy to be like, oh, it's just anecdotal. It's like, it's not real. And so then nobody ever really does anything about it because it's not like hard and fast. I wonder if that's part of the reason why some, like vaccines, you know, controversial, because it's like, these have bad effects, but it's like not for everyone. Yeah. But for a lot it does. Yeah. A lot of people it does. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I definitely would agree with you that I think that is part of why it becomes controversial and not like set in stone. Mm-hmm. But for me, I think what's just telling for me that I'm like, this is crazy is when I'm like, why is every other country in the world getting rid of this and not allowing it in their foods? But we are.
Right.
Like,
well, why? America just does that with a lot of things. Yeah, that's true. We're just different. Like, we just do things.
We're just different. I know, but like, but also, like if you actually do look at the stats on it and actually do the research and look at what people have done research on this, like the increase in the amount of people who have ADD and ADHD, or the increase in the amount of like, the increase of these problems that just were not problems like 50 to 100 years ago. It's as these things have been increased in our food, as we've seen, like those increase at the same rate that all of these health problems that we have are increasing as well. So for me, it's more about like, where are you getting your research from? Because it shouldn't be from the government.
Well, like, have you seen those pictures of people from like the 50s where it's like,
everybody's fit.
it's like a picture of like some beach and it's like everyone's like about the same size and like looks pretty healthy. Yeah. It is true.
Yeah. Like, no, something has happened.
That's not what a society looks like. Yeah. And you don't think about it because you're used to it. But when you see a picture like that, it's like, it is different. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're talking about Robert Kennedy. So tell me about your thoughts on American politics right now. And maybe we can branch out from there.
American politics.
Like, were you, like, how much did you keep up with the election cycle? Or did you not care as much?
It's not that I didn't care. I just like, I don't know. I don't believe a lot of news sources. Like I kept up with it, but not really enough. Like, I mean, obviously, like I am excited that Donald Trump is president. Like, I think he's going to take our country in directions that I personally agree with the most than I think it would have been under anybody else.
That's good.
But also, I think there is truth in that the Bible says to respect those who are in authority, and that God places everybody in authority. And so whichever way that would have worked out, like that's what I'm called to do. I can only do so much. I can do my part in voting. I can do my part in paying attention and making sure that I agree with, and I may not agree with everything, but like who am I most aligned with value wise, and I can do my part in voting there, and then I can pray. But really that's all that I can do. And I just kind of watch the rest go down, you know? And then I feel like whoever is in those positions of authority, like that we're called to respect. And I think that sometimes, like, I feel like Christians and people can forget that.
Well, I think it's easy to like, we all get so wrapped up in it, especially every 4 years, it's a cycle. But like, I was talking on my last podcast about how, it's so easy to like be so focused on like the big picture and like national politics, you know, and put all my hope in the next guy who's in the White House and all this, and just forget about that. Like, I don't really have any control over that at all. And like, it also really doesn't affect my life that much. Like, people don't really like I remember thinking that a couple years ago, and it's like, oh, like the wrong person won the election. Like, the world's ending. It's like, it really isn't.
Yeah. Like, I had a ton of people who were like, other countries are probably going to like start bombing us because we don't have like strong leaders. Yeah. Like stuff like that.
The truth is, like, my life didn't change one way or the other. Now, some people's lives are affected, but most of us aren't. But like, I think the world would be a better place if we would all pay more attention to like the local stuff that happens. Yeah. You know, like local politics or whatever it is that your sphere of influence is, like, worry about that. Yeah. Get passionate about that, and let the kings of the world figure themselves out. Like,
I agree. I think people also just really underestimate the power of prayer. Like, I feel like people don't think that they can pray for large things in life, like large revivals and things.
Talk about that.
I just think it's interesting how, well, and universally this may not be true, but I just think we forget that as Christians, like, that is direct access to God. And if he has influence over everything, he's sovereign, he reigns over everything. And we forget that we can come and ask him for major things to happen. Like, Lord, please let this revival happen here, or this revival happen there. Oftentimes we're like, and it's not bad for us, but we're like, Lord, could you please save this person, or this person's going into surgery, so please be with them, or please. And it's all within our sphere, which I think is good. But I think that we also forget that, like, the way that we pray can affect the Lord's kingdom and over all of the earth. And there's this question that just one of my devotionals asked, and it was like, how would the world be different if all of the prayers that you prayed today were answered, like tomorrow? Like what would be different? And that's when I really started to think about this and be like, man, like, you know, there would be things in my like immediate life and my immediate sphere of things that would be changed, but it's not like I'm sitting here being like, Lord, let there be a revival in Africa, or praying for the people in the Middle East, or praying for the people in like within Russia and Ukraine. And like we pray about them like in church or when we hear about them, and like our hearts go out to them. But how often do we actually like sit and pray for major things to happen in the world? And I think that people underestimate that. Like, that is our power as Christians. Like, we have direct access to God to ask for that when it comes to our leadership in this country. And for some reason, because it may or may not happen, and so we just forget to ask for that and forget to be like, Lord, you're sovereign and in control over this, and I'm asking you to be in control over this and to, you know, work a miracle, I guess.
How do you pray? Like, I feel like you keep track of like things, because that seems to be this pattern in your life that I've noticed on this podcast. No, I'm just kidding. Like, do you just like pray whatever comes into your head, or do you like have prayer lists and like, this is my big world event prayer list, or like, how do you do that?
So I think it's really interesting, and it kind of goes into my testimony a little bit too, just because I don't think you were there when I gave my testimony at church.
No.
I also wasn't there when you gave yours. It's kind of sad.
Well, now we're even.
But this kind of goes into my testimony of, so when I was younger, I was saved when I was about 6 years old, but right before that, basically I had been in a youth group when they had said, you know, Jesus wants to be your best friend. And at the time I was this little girl who was like, I could really use a best friend. So I just started talking to him as if he was. And I remember like my mom was like, you would literally like just walk around the house just talking to your best friend Jesus. Like, that was just who I was. Like, I was constantly just like, and Jesus, this happened, and then this happened, and we're going to go see my horses now, and we're going to go groom the horse, and we're going to do this. Like, I remember that. And then learning that Jesus could be your best friend forever, which is what led to, you know, my conversion, and then got baptized after. But that kind of that idea of Jesus being my best friend forever didn't change, for me at least. And so 6, 7, 8, 9, like, that was the way that I prayed, like, constantly throughout the day, of just being like, Lord, this is like, I'm waking up, I hope that I glorify you today. Lord, what outfit should I wear? Lord, what should I eat for breakfast? I really like this. I think I want this. Lord, this happened today and I really didn't like that, and this really hurt my feelings, and I don't know how I feel about that. And did you hear about this going on in the world? Because, oh, well, you obviously did, because you're God. But could you please be with this, and could you please be with this person? Da, da, da. And like, that
wow, is
my prayer life
still.
Yeah. To this day. Like, it is and it's funny because, you know, in the Bible it says to pray continuously. And I think that people don't really think about that, and how that is literally a command that's in the Bible. And I think for me, I just thought people prayed the way that I did. Like, that was always like, growing up, I was like, oh, everybody just has this relationship with God where they're the best friend, and then I talk to him and he talks to me, and then we just have this conversation, and we always have a conversation going. And I just thought everybody did that, and it took me a long time to realize that, like, that's not the same. Like, a lot of times people, it's not that I don't have a prayer list, I definitely do, to like keep track of that. And I also journal. I love journaling. Like, this is where I see God working in my life, and this is a prayer that he answered, or this is what I'm really facing right now, and then come back later and read that and be like, oh wow, God answered that in this way. Like, that definitely is something that I do. But for me, like, you know, I spend a majority of my days like alone working, and a majority of my days I'm just talking to God as I work. Like, Lord, I really don't know how to do this. Maybe I can Google search this. Do you think that this will work? Do you think that this person will like this? Maybe I should call them. Like, my conversation, like almost my internal dialogue with myself is a prayer to the Lord. Like, it's a constant communication with him. And I think the danger with that sometimes is like, do I actually take the time to sit and listen and allow the Lord to speak back to me?
Yeah.
So I've had to definitely make that a practice in my devotional time, that a lot of people make time for like, this is going to be my time that I pray. I make time for, this is the time that I'm going to be silent and I'm just going to listen and I'm going to ask the Lord to just speak to me. And so I try to take at least one day a week to practice Sabbath, where I'm like not focusing on work and school and just doing things that are actually restoring to me or restoring in my week. And that's been something that I've had to learn recently. But it's actually been one of the most beneficial things that I've done recently. And that I would encourage people to do, because it can be Sunday, like after church, or it could be another day of the week if that works better for you, where you're not focusing on work, you're pausing on thinking about school. Because in my mind, it's like a running task list just as much as it is like, I'm like, this is the next thing I got to work on, but it's a day that I'm going to do things that are going to restore me. And if that looks like, oh, I'm going to do laundry, maybe that is restoring because it's cleaning up my space. And it's not something that's like, it's not something that's annoying me every time I see the pile of laundry in my room. And maybe it is meal prepping, but I actually enjoy cooking. And that's actually like, I'm like, wow, God, like you gave us like all of this foods to eat, and it's nourishing to our bodies, and we are a temple, and we should be taking care of our bodies in that way. And so it really like flows into all the different areas of your life when you do that. And I think people just really underestimate how much God designed us to take a day to rest. And they kind of see that as, well, I go to church on Sunday mornings and that's my time to rest and think about that. When really
it's not.
Yeah. And
going to church is great and we need to do it, but like it doesn't for me, it doesn't work as like a restoring and resting time. Right.
And you would be amazed how hard it is to keep your mind off of all of the things that you need to do. Like to take a day to just be like, I'm not going to focus on my schoolwork. I am not going to focus on work. Like that's hard. And
because it's like you said, it's an ever-running task list.
Exactly. There's always something more to do. So like I love walking. I think walking is one of my love languages. Like I walk so much. I love being outside. Like the Swamp Rabbit is like the best thing I think in Greenville. I love it.
Have you been over to the oh shoot, what's it called? The new place that they built. It's like connected to the Swamp Rabbit Trail. Why am I forgetting the name of it now?
Like where's it?
It's over near Malden. It's like on 385. It's like the castle. Like the big castle looking thing. It's called Bridgeway Station. Have you heard about Bridgeway Station?
I need to go.
You need to go over there. It's like they've got, you would love it. I can't really. It's like from what I know of you, you would love it. Like they've got this super nice coffee shop, but then it's like a bunch of places to eat, and then like this big common area that they built, and there's like apartments there too that people live in.
Wow.
But then like the Swamp Rabbit Trail comes over the interstate, and
how cool.
Anyways,
that's awesome. I would love that.
I don't know if you'd seen it, but
no, sorry. I haven't, but that sounds so cool and I need to go. So anyway, so walking is not just a daily habit for me, but it's also like it's part of my Sabbathing, because usually it's how can I be outside. That's another just like healthy habit that I try to do, like first thing in the morning. Like I don't look at my phone at all first thing in the morning, and then I like either drink some water, but I immediately try to be outside. That's like it's so healthy for you. Like
I've heard that
it's just like the best thing you can do to like kickstart your body, and it really is. It's great. That, and then when I shower, like doing it's not an ice bath obviously because it's in the shower, but doing like
cold water. Who was I talking to the other day about cold water? I don't remember, but
that's hard too.
It is hard.
That's really hard,
but it does have an effect. Like when I've done that, got like a cold shower, I mean it's the worst thing in the world, but then like the way that you feel after is incredible.
I know.
For most people, I think. I don't know about everybody, because the person I was talking, I can forget who it was, but
they were like they couldn't do it. I get that.
Well, like they said that like they just like went into hypothermia or something, and that they were like,
oh my goodness,
dying afterwards.
Maybe they were in there a little too long.
Maybe that's what the problem was. But that's definitely, I've heard about the benefits of it, and a couple times I've done it. I often like turn the water cold like for the last minute. Which like it helps.
I know a lot of people do. Like I choose to do it at the beginning because that initial like shocking your body into it is good, and it is a shock to go from like that hot to cold. So I try to do it at the beginning to like initially, because as your body's like waking up, or like after the gym when you're already kind of like sweaty or whatnot, when it kind of feels good then, but that initial shock to your body is what activates
And then you go hot
it.
after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
then
that's
I go
interesting.
hot.
Maybe I'll try that next time. Cool. Let me ask you, so we're back to meal prepping. So I want to ask you about that real quick. So what, like, I'm just asking this for my own benefit. Like, what do you do and how do you do it?
What do I do?
Yeah. Because, like, like you've said a couple of times, like, you love cooking. And I have found that I enjoy it too. It's very relaxing and, like, kind of therapeutic, like you said.
Yeah.
But the busier I get, the less time I have to just cook. So, like, what's your process?
So I try to usually I let that be a part of, like, something on the weekend. I try to do, like, I guess Sunday resets. Like, I go to church and then come back and try to make sure, like, I'm doing, like, laundry and stuff if I haven't already done it on, like, sometimes Saturday I use as, like, a Sabbath day or whatever. But usually Sunday has been my, like, constant. And so I will either go to the grocery store if I need, but I would say the hardest thing that people have a problem with when it comes to meal prepping is, what should I meal prep? It's the initial, like, what is it? Like, what do I need? And then if you're worried about, like, macros or whatever, like, how am I going to fit this all in? And so I would say, like, Instagram Reels or TikTok is your best friend, because the amount of people who have recipes is insane. So there was, like, a time for a period where I would just try to do different things each week just to see, like, what I liked and what was easy to do. I didn't get to meal prep, like, this past Sunday, so I actually did meal prep today, actually. And I made I know. And I made, like, chicken and beef, these quesadillas that, like, have I just some onions, bell peppers. I put, like, Greek yogurt, black beans, pre-made, like, baked some chicken and did some ground beef, and then just threw that into a quesadilla with some cheese, and that made, like, 8 quesadillas that will last me for, like, however long I need for lunches or stuff, because it's easy. I try to take my my lunchtime at work to either, like, get things done around the house or something, so I like to just be able to throw something, like, in the microwave and just heat it up. So yeah, so that's been, like, my constant. I think I made those, like, 3 weeks in a row. Like, I think they taste amazing. You can also just search up different type of, like, chicken dishes. Soup is great. Like, as it's cold right now, like, soup is a really good option. I'm trying to think, really, if you can just pre-make, like, a meat and then some vegetables to go with it. I really enjoy eating just ground beef and sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes is probably, like, one of my favorite vegetables of all time.
They're very good if you make them right.
Potatoes. Yeah. And then I also have an air fryer, so I make, like, sweet potato fries all the time.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh.
Air fryers are, like, one of those things people are like, what even is that? And then once they get it and they figure out how to use it, it's like, you're never going back.
Yeah, I know. You can cook so much in it.
Oh, it's amazing.
So that's great, because that's a quick, convenient, easy way to just, like, make some sweet potato fries. There's a lot of, like, pasta recipes. Like, one of the things that I do is I try to have, like, one meal prepped and then one meal that I'm eating fresh, because I get, like, really annoyed when, like, I'm heating up, like, frozen food. Also, I have a thing against microwaves, so it takes a little bit longer for me, because I refuse to use a microwave.
I understand that.
Yeah, like, the radiation is just so bad. So like,
well, and, like, you can pretty much use an air fryer for most things that you would heat up.
Exactly. So, but I try to make, like, sometimes it's like, oh, is it going to be freezer burnt? Like, you know, it just, like, you feel like it doesn't taste as good because it's pre-made or whatever. And so I try to find, like, some protein source. I really like cutting up, like, chicken sausages are really easy, and just some pasta and making, like, a homemade sauce with that and throwing it together is really good. Or, like, I have a paprika chicken recipe that one of my friends actually gave me, and it's so quick. Like, the chicken cooks in, like, 20 minutes. Put some green beans, broccoli. I know a lot of people love, like, chicken and rice meals. I actually really don't love rice. Like, not because there's anything wrong with it. I just don't really prefer the taste of it. So usually I have, like, vegetables. If I'm going to be eating carbs, it's coming through, like, fruits or pasta. I love pasta. So
yeah, me too. I make rice most often because I have a little rice pot.
Oh, yeah.
I make things that I make.
Yeah, that's nice.
But pasta's good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's very helpful. Thank you. Maybe I'll implement some of these ideas. But anyways, anything else you wanted to hit on the podcast? I think we hit a lot.
I know. You don't want to tell them how vegetables are bad for them?
What do you mean?
This is like my most like controversial thing.
You think vegetables are bad?
Well, no, it's not that I think that all vegetables are bad. It's just there are a lot of vegetables that are really high in oxalates. Like I love sweet potatoes, but they're high in oxalates, which are these little.
Oxalates?
They're
I
these.
remember you were talking about this the other day.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was telling you about this in church. Yeah,
Yes.
there's these like they're basically they're these like little. I don't know if they're like proteins or something, but they're in a ton of vegetables and starches like rice and stuff and quinoa and whatnot have these oxalates that basically bind to other like chemical proteins within our bodies, and it forms like it's like calcium, like hard within your body, and there's really no like good way for your body to excrete it besides like your saliva and like urination basically. So it gets like stuck, and it's one of the main things that causes kidney stones. And so it's not like one of those things where it's like, don't eat these at all. Like, definitely still like, it's definitely like eat your vegetables, but at the same time, it's like, you don't want to eat so much of one vegetable that you're overloading your system because your body doesn't have a good way to like get rid of that. And I didn't know that. So that's been something I've tried to watch more, and like the food that I eat is like how much, like I was eating sweet potatoes for like all the time. Like I made sweet potatoes and ate it with like almost every meal just because I could pre-make them easily.
So what doesn't have oxalates? Sweet potatoes?
No, sweet potatoes do. That's why I had to cut back on them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like low oxalate foods like are cauliflower, broccolis, bell peppers, avocados. So that's why I've been putting bell peppers in like my quesadillas and eating avocados with breakfast. Grapes, apples, cucumbers.
Never heard of oxalates.
I know. Yeah. And then, but like high oxalated foods are like, but most potatoes have them. Kiwis have are high in oxalates.
Oh, I love kiwis.
Chocolate is high in oxalate.
Okay. Oh, I thought that like, see, this is something different from antioxidants.
Oh
right?
yeah, it's different.
Because like chocolate's high in antioxidants.
Yeah. This is different. Like a lot of like chia and sesame seeds, nuts are really high in oxalates, like almonds and stuff. And then sweet potatoes. If
you're prone to kidney stones or have certain health conditions, avoid oxalates. That's what the internet is telling me. Very interesting.
Yeah. It just causes a lot of problems within the kidneys because they bind
hard and
they bind to like minerals in your body like calcium and magnesium, and a lot of people have started taking a whole lot more magnesium because it helps with sleep.
Yes, I found this out. I've been doing it.
Yeah.
It also makes you dream.
Really?
Did you know that?
Well,
that's what I heard, and then I was like when if I take magnesium before bed, like I will dream a lot more. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's also a difference between magnesium glycate and magnesium citrate, and not a lot of people know that.
You are a nerd. Tell me. What's the difference?
So magnesium glycate will help you sleep. Magnesium citrate will clear out your digestive system.
Okay.
So a lot of people like don't know that difference, and they'll take citrate thinking it's going to help them sleep and end up waking up because they really need to use the bathroom.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think the one I have is the first one.
Well, if you've been dreaming and sleeping better, then I have a feeling it'll be.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to work really well with calcium.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they work well together, and they like magnesium makes you able to absorb the calcium more and everything, which also helps you sleep, right? So, well, that's so cool. Okay, so if you were going to summarize everything we've talked about, 3 things to improve your health, your life, can you give us 3 things?
Sure. Maybe.
Like 3 big things.
3 big things. First, I would say practice Sabbath, or at least get in the habit of practicing Sabbath. Figure out a time in your schedule that you can actually take to rest. And that will restore your body so much. 2, try fasting or fast more. Just because your body is almost like its own natural doctor. And by fasting, like you're completely resetting all of the systems in your body, like from your gut to your brain to your immune system. So if you're really struggling with, I don't know, allergies or illnesses, I thought it was really interesting. All 3 of my roommates got the flu, and my boyfriend had the flu, and I just visited him, and my best friend had the flu, and I just visited her and her husband. And not once did I get the flu. but not once did I get the flu when I was either at the house with them or being around them, but I also fasted like in between that time to try to reset like my immune system. And I think my immune system has definitely improved with like the way that I have continued, like with not just like my diet and exercise, but also because of this practice of fasting. And then third, let's see.
Sabbath fasting.
Two
kinds of really, because
yeah. Sabbath, fasting, and then probably prayer. Like, understand the power of prayer, and can you get to the end of the day and be like, okay, what did I pray about and do that you know, made a difference for eternity? And if all of the prayers that I prayed today were answered tomorrow, like, what would the world look like then? That's
such a good question, because it kind of makes you realize, like, maybe I should be praying for more things. Yeah, that's so good. Prayer's hard. Like, I think anything good is hard. That's just true. But being consistent, and I have found that for me, writing prayers really helps me, because especially like early in the morning, I wake up and it's like my brain's just going everywhere. It's like it's so hard for me to like focus even on just like praying words. So if I like sit down and like, you know, like type it out on my phone or write it in like a notebook, then it's like it kind of focuses everything, and I can kind of put some words down on the page. I've had so many people tell me that recently. They're like, yeah, I've just gotten to this habit of writing my prayers, and like I definitely have. It's just, for me, it's interesting how many people have told me that recently. Well, it also helps with like, you don't say the same things, because like that's kind of, you know, and like I'll get annoyed at myself because it's like I'm saying the same things that I've said a million times. You know, and like, because you just get in that prayer speak that all of us Christians do. Which and that's a pet peeve of mine.
It's a pet peeve of mine as well. It really is.
We should talk about that.
I know.
I'd love talking about that. But like when you're writing, it's like, for some reason, it's easier just to like talk about what's actually going on. You know, things you should be praying about. So yeah, absolutely. But well, thanks for coming on. This was a good time.
Yeah, thanks for
I'll have you back on. I feel like there's a lot more stuff we can get into.
I know.
But I don't want to drag it out too long, but appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.